some kind of limiter. And I use limiters as the main driving force of creative thought. The limiter might be time, it might be money, or it's just the fact that
Mm-hmm.
something doesn't exist. And so there's a limit on what you can do. And so that's when I was remodeling, I did all kinds of creative solutions because I didn't have the money to hire somebody to do it correctly. I didn't have the gear. And usually I just had to, necessity being the mother of invention. In illustration, I do that a lot where I'll set an arbitrary limiter on a project and it creates it you can't help but end up somewhere different. Like, for example, I did that whole series where I was trying to do paintings that had very limited value. And I mean, I'm a value based, I think in value. I mean, I'm more of a painter than a drawer. And so I'm basically taking away my main strength, which is value. And what kind of images am I left with when there's a low value image? And I do that all the time. The one piece I did for Inktober this month, I set the most bizarre set of limiters on this piece. You guys will see this piece eventually, Jake and Will. But I just set up all these limiters, and then I thought to myself, can I pull this off with these limiters in place? And it was so extreme that you can't help but go somewhere cool with it.
That's cool. I agree with that. Like, I call it.
And
go ahead, Will. I'll just stop
no,
the thought
ahead.
right in the middle.
I'm just kidding. Just go. So I think there's a delay because you had that really dumb look on your face still when I started talking, so it looked like you weren't thinking of anything.
Oh, okay. Quit looking at the video. No, I was just gonna say I don't call them limiters. I call them constraints, but it's the same thing. Like, that's one of the things that I always come back to. It's like, what are the constraints I'm going to put around myself? Either deliberately or looking at what are my constraints that I haven't done, but are just there inherently. And how can I work around those things or use them to do it? And I think, going back to Inktober, I think that's why there is an appeal to Inktober, is because that constraint is there's so much that can be done with ink, but it is way more constrained than, a palette of paints or a iPad full of, of digital colors. And it's really cool to see what people end up doing with just black and white.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be what people struggle with Slovember. If you guys haven't heard of Slovember, you're going to definitely want to check that out. No, but really, there's nothing harder than a blue sky project that has no limits, a big block of time. So you're not constrained with time. You're not constrained with subject matter. You're not constrained with media. So you have to put these constraints on, or limiters, or what we're talking about.